Okay. Thank you, everyone, for coming this evening. We are going to, let's see here. C2, closed session report, conference with labor negotiators. Information was exchanged. No action was taken. C3, approval of the minutes of the regular board meeting of November 14th. Any questions from the board? Nope. Okay, public comment on approval of the minutes from the regular board meeting of November 14th. If you'd like to comment, you don't need to fill out a speaker card. Please just step up to the podium. And you can begin with, you don't need to bang on the microphone.
Thank you. Good evening. Let the minutes reflect that at the last school board meeting, union leadership asked that the school board conduct a full review of the lapse in student and staff safety that has occurred during the current transition from the historic hour zero safety protocols to the new I Love You Guys standard safety protocols. At that time, we mentioned the recent event at CMS, November 7th, when a student was found in possession of a gun. Instead of seeking better data, board member Schaefer attempted to shout down this fact and allege that it was inaccurate, overspeaking the speaker when the board and the community was being told that upon learning of such a weapon on campus, the CMS principal initiated none of the previous hour zero and new standard safety response protocols. Let the minutes show that union leadership continues its effort to expose the middle school's very concerning response to events such as these. Let the minutes show that the response of the district's board members and senior administrators appears more focused on damage control to their reputations and the reputation of the district than it is focused on the actual safety of students, employees, and their families. Let the minutes show that the district received an information request requesting the details associated with the weapon on the middle school campus, and that the district's lawyers on behalf of Superintendent Rigby and district leadership responded by minimizing the district's responsibilities to release the very information and evidence of the event that Mr. Schaefer first said did not exist. To our esteemed school board members, superintendent and middle school principal, it is simply not productive to misuse your authority to mislead the record. However well-intended your statements might be, no one wants to scare our students, our employees, their families, or members of the community with details that demonstrate safety concerns in the district. That said, union leadership and the employees we represent need those same stakeholders, and especially our district leadership, to take these matters seriously and address them transparently, of course with confidentiality for the students involved, and ensure that both students and employees can arrive to the teaching and learning environment across the district confident that the administrative politics and media optics are not being prioritized above their safety. Therefore, I resubmit the information request, originally filed on November 9th, yet to be produced, to include the request for the police report, case number 2311557, a photo of the gun, and any email correspondence between the superintendent, the CMS principal, and or law enforcement. Thank you.
Any further public comment on approval of the minutes from our last school board meeting? Okay, seeing none, may I get a motion to approve?
I'll move to approve.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
C4, approval of agenda and consent agenda. Any questions from the board? No? Okay. Public comment on approval of the agenda and consent agenda. Please feel free to step right up to the podium.
Alrighty, once again, and without placing any judgment on the value of this evening's consent agenda items, it appears there are items that have not recently been brought before the board and community in the recent past. If so, this would certainly be in keeping with the district's practices of the last several board meeting agendas, where many independent items were loaded onto the consent agenda to be improved en masse without so much as conversation or question offered by board members or the community. At the last board meeting, the union notified the district that it is misusing the administration of the consent agenda to advance public business without transparency. the district was notified that it is engaging in a clear violation of the Brown Act when it includes a variety of unique items on the consent agenda which have never been brought before or not been brought before the public at any previous recent school board meeting. To be clear, the district is not permitted to rush items through the public approval process by loading them into the consent agenda for a single up and down vote. The district must first provide the public an opportunity to consider the unique agenda item on a standalone basis. In response to the notification provided by union leadership, Board Member Diamond could not have provided a better demonstration of how thoroughly she misunderstands and misrepresents the laws that limit the district's authority. Ms. Diamond, at minute 11:41, attempted to justify the district's behavior by actually confirming the very violation the district is engaging in. Specifically, Ms. Diamond, you stated, quote, "Many of these, pretty much everything here has at one point been a previous agenda item in one way or another. Note, not everything, but pretty much everything." And of the items that had been on the agenda before, Ms. Diamond referred to items being placed on board agendas in previous years as satisfying the district's legal obligations, long ago, when those items were also, in fact, packed into previous consent agendas, also in violation of the Brown Act. Your justification at minute 11:41 at the last board meeting neither resolved the district's current or past violations, nor does it modify the community's right to consider consent agenda items more thoroughly and transparently than the bulk processing. Therefore, union leadership again asked the district to cease and desist from engaging in this practice. Regardless of the board members' willingness to provide diligent and effective oversight of district business, union leadership asked that the CUSD provides the community its rightful opportunity to consider the district's decisions and participate as whole partners in the public review and discussion that the Brown Act both requires and protects. The district is required to provide the public an adequate opportunity to thoroughly consider each item at least once before moving the item to the consent agenda. Thank you.
Any discussion on approval of the agenda or consent
We need a
agenda?
motion first. Yeah.
Oh, sorry. May I get a motion to approve?
I move to approve the consent and the approval of the minutes.
No, agenda and consent agenda is what we're,
I move to approve the consent agenda.
I need it to be both. The item is for agenda and consent
Yes.
agenda.
The agenda and the consent agenda.
Thank you.
I'll second that.
Thank you. Any discussion? Okay. Roll call.
Eric?
Aye.
Aaron?
Aye.
Sally?
Aye.
Jamie?
Aye.
I'm aye.
Wonderful. E, public interest reports and presentations. Tonight we get an Eagle Scout project presentation by Cody Schwaznick. Carpinteria High School senior Cody Schwaznick will present his Eagle Scout project to the board. The project will consist of building a cinder block barbecue at Carpinteria High School. Cody, could you please? Thank you.
Hello, school board members. My name is Cody Schwaznick, for who doesn't know me, and I'm presenting the cinder block barbecue that I'd like to place on Carpinteria High School. So you may be wondering, what is an Eagle Scout project? An Eagle Scout project is a service project that a scout performs for the benefit of their community. Once a scout has become a life scout, they are given the challenge of building or creating a project of their choosing to become an Eagle Scout. The scout that is doing the project isn't doing the whole broad project by himself, but will be appointing the group to build the project. The barbecue. I plan to create a wood-burning barbecue that is around 8 foot long by 4 foot wide for Carpinteria High School. The barbecue will be placed between the back of the football concession stand and in front of the baseball gate. I will need to create a footing and a slab for it to sit on. And the inside will consist of fire brick so it won't crack on the outside of the barbecue. The sides will be painted and will feature the Carp High logo and a plaque. I'll be keeping the same grill that is currently on the old one. And these are the steps to building the barbecue. Me and the group will dig out and pour the footing with rebar. The footing will be around 10 feet by 6 feet and 12 inches thick. And then we'll be pouring the slab, which is 12 feet by 10 feet and is a 3-inch thickness. We will then build the base with CMU cinder blocks around 8 feet by 4 feet. We then will line the inside with fire brick and then paint the outside of the cinder blocks and place the placard as well as the Carpinteria High School logo. And then at the very end, we will place the old grill on top of the finished foundation. These are some reference photos. The one on the very right, if you can see it, the inside, that white is the fire brick, which will be lined on the inside. And here are some benefits of a permanent barbecue. The old barbecue that is there is beginning to rust on the outside, and the bottom of it is starting to have holes which will let ash out from it. The stone barbecue won't be able to rust out like the old one, and it will hopefully last longer. The barbecue will be used for football games, Russell Cup, which is a big track meet, and weekend baseball games, and more.
Wonderful. Thank you, Cody. Any questions from the board for Cody on his Eagle Scout project?
When do you think you're going to do the work, Cody?
I would like to do the work the first week of winter break, so then I can get in there with no problems. And then that'd be sometime around the 15th of December.
And then have it finished before school starts?
Hopefully, yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions?
And you're also going to volunteer to come back and cook
Yeah.
tri-tip
Yeah.
on that barbecue.
Perfect.
That's yeah. Once I'm not in Wyoming, once I'm here for
Yeah.
this sometime, yes.
Yeah. All right. We're going to put that into the agreement, I think.
Sounds good.
Thank you for doing this, guys.
You are a family member.
Okay. Thank you so much, Cody. I appreciate that. And now you can go and thank you. Public comment on Eagle Scout project presentation.
Thank you. For a moment, I stand before you as a community member, not the school board, not the union president or the school board's speaker. Cody, I'm unsure if you need them, but if you do, I have a ton of cinder blocks, and I'd love to donate them to the cause. And please let me know. Okay. Great. Thank you.
Any further public comment? Okay. We approve it. Yeah. Okay. So may I get a motion to approve?
I move to approve the creation or I move to approve the Cinderblock Barbecue project by Cody Schwaznick.
I second that motion.
Okay. Discussion?
I think it's a great project. I think as one who's got to work with the old barbecue a lot, I think this will go a long way in making it easier for those that are working back there, and it'll kind of spruce up that part of the snack bar, and hopefully it should last long into the future with a much more durable construction method. So I think it's a really great project.
Anyone else? Well, I think it's going to be a great benefit to the carpentry community, but especially the Carp High School and Carp School District community for a long time. And I love that these projects, it's not just the one student, that it really is a team effort. And you gather your troops and put them to work, and it's a really great project. I think this is a very fitting project. So all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Fabulous. Thank you so much.
Congratulations, Cody.
Yeah. Okay. We do not have a student representative report this evening, so we are going to move on to our superintendent's report.
So tonight, I'd like to begin with appreciation, and I'd like to recognize the district's special education teachers, specialists, and staff who serve our most vulnerable student population. Our next item is our single plan for student achievement, fondly known as CIPSAs. The California Ed Code 64001 and the Every Student Succeeds Act require schools that receive federal funds through the CON app to consolidate all school planning requirements into the CIPSA. The single plan for student achievement is aligned with the board-adopted LCAP, and it represents a school cycle of continuous improvement of student achievement. The annual process of developing, reviewing, and updating the CIPSA includes a comprehensive review of data and the development of actions necessary to achieve school goals. CUSD principals are presenting their CIPSAs to the board tonight for board approval. The next item is special education. CUSD is serving 316 special education students ages 3 to 22 years old, representing 13 varying disabilities, which is 16.5% of student enrollment. Statewide average for special ed enrollment is 14%, and countywide average in 2022 was 12%. Special education expenditures are budgeted at $7.1 million. Revenue is $2 million, and the contribution from the CUSD General Fund is $5.1 million. Special Education Director Robert Shigear is presenting a more detailed special ed report to the board tonight. And the last item is Measure U. DSA has approved the Catalina Learning Center plans, and the next step is board approval for the leaseback contractor. Measure U staff is currently preparing the RFP for the LLB contractor. Thank you.
Wonderful, thank you. Any questions for Superintendent Rigby? Okay, public comment on the superintendent's report.
It is fascinating to witness as the superintendent continues the routine of recognizing with appreciation the very district employees she is currently threatening with professional discipline behind closed doors for professionally sharing their experience with students to administrators and their parents that they work with. In the last 3 weeks, a private letter was first sent to Ms. Rigby on these matters, as well as it was to district leadership, the board, regarding the devastating programmatic impacts associated with the recent SPED decisions at the middle school. Only after being thoroughly dismissed by both the superintendent and the school board was it eventually shared publicly at the last school board meeting. And even then, Ms. Rigby has failed to respond to the variety of highly professional and critically informed efforts to expose the harm that the decisions by administration, and meaning the reduction in resources that those decisions represent, what those decisions were creating for many of our most at-risk students on campus. And to make matters worse, while Ms. Rigby publicly expresses her appreciation for these SPED teachers this evening, she has supported and encouraged the CMS principal's letter to threaten the very teachers with professional discipline. If they continue, that is, to share the concerning impacts of the recent administrative and programmatic changes negatively impacting district special education students and families. As Ms. Rigby tries to deny the rights and professional obligation, or instructs the principal to deny those rights and professional obligations of these diligent district teachers, neither the community nor the board should be fooled by the duplicitous appreciation and canned statements of gratitude she offers this evening. It pains us to share that the superintendent's appreciation in light of her behaviors and special education philosophies represent the proverbial wolf in sheep's clothing. But the effort to manage the storyline doesn't stop there. The superintendent also introduced the upcoming special education report we will hear this evening. And in doing so, it seems that she intentionally framed, although we can't prove intention, but she did frame the matter of special education in the CUSD as, again, an unfunded mandate, a burden, and a unique hardship for the CUSD, a frame and philosophy she shares with our most senior school board members. Could this frame be designed to establish even lower expectations for administrative performance managing the SPED program at the middle school and district-wide? Once again, while the program is characterized as an unfunded mandate and a financial burden, most other districts in the state have found ways to successfully navigate and address the same challenges and expectations that CUSD struggles to address. For those who knew Ms. Rigby's history, none of this comes as a surprise. You need only examine our superintendent's well-documented history with matters of special education while employed at the Santa Barbara Unified School District. While there, Ms. Rigby was awarded a unique honor. She was held personally liable for damages under the Civil Rights Act for violating a family's right to a free, appropriate public education.
Your time is up.
Not accurate.
Any further public comment? Okay. I would like to now move on to E4, our 2023-24 single plan for student achievement presentations for Aliso, Canalino, Carpinteria Middle School, and Carpinteria High School. We have our principals here this evening, Mr. Brett Weiberg, Ms. Jamie Pursoon, Ms. Lisa O'Shea, and Mr. Gerardo Cornejo, who will present, and I believe we are starting with elementary, with Aliso.
Good evening, and I'm excited to be here tonight. I got to be here a couple weeks ago to present some of the highlights that are going on in Aliso with our student council and our DLI students. So now I'm here to present our school plan for student achievement. So as you can tell, we are the Aliso Lions. So this first photograph is our new chess tables, and this was Eli Schaefer's Eagle Scout project. Turned out pretty amazing. The kids are loving them. They're by our new garden that we had installed, so they kind of act as our chess pieces. We also do checkers, and then they are tables when we do gardening also. And we also started a chess club that will be every Monday. So we started that this week, and so we'll be using the tables for that too. So it's pretty exciting. So first off, I want to start by looking at our enrollment by our student group. In the 2021-22 year, as opposed to the 22-23 year, our student group enrollment stayed about the same, with 87% Hispanic in 21-22 and 88% Hispanic in 22-23 and 9% white and 8% white in 22-23, with African American or no response or others at 4%. The big thing is that our enrollment is decreasing. We went from 347 to 329, and then we've decreased again this year. When we look at our reclassification rates, from 21-22 to 22-23, we had 176 English learners in 21-22, and that is decreasing. We had 136 last year, so that was 51% compared to 41% English learners. The great thing is we've done really good with reclassification. We went from 8% the fluent English proficient to 16. 12% reclassified fluent English proficient to 18. And so in the 21-22 school year, we had 24 students reclassified, and in the 22-23, we reclassified 30 students. So that was an amazing thing we've been working really hard on. Looking at our ELA CAS data, so the overall achievement for students. So the percentage of students that met or exceeded standards remained the same, from 37% to 37%. The percent of students that nearly met standards decreased from 30 to 24, and the percentage of students that did not meet standards increased from 33 to 40. So we want those two bottom areas to be less, and so that's kind of the areas we're going to be focusing on, and we'll look at some of our goals and how we're going to be addressing those. For our math data, the percentage of students that met and exceeded standards decreased from 33 to 30. So we'll be working a lot on math this year. The percentage of students that nearly met standards increased from 28 to 32, and the ones that did not meet increased from 38 to 39. One area that we've been working really hard on is the chronic absentee rate. So in 21-22, 31% of our students were chronically absent. We worked really hard, and last year decreased to 25%, but still we need to get that down. So we're working really hard on that. At the bottom, you can see that our socioeconomically disadvantaged population is at 81.6. So one of the things we've talked about as a staff is how can we support our students and our families. And our families are really struggling with COVID and everything going on. You know, they're working multiple jobs. They're trying to get their kids to school. They're trying to support their families, trying to provide food. So we were trying to figure out ways that we can support our families to make sure that our kids get to school so that they can get the education they need. So in a minute, when I look at the our goals, I'll kind of tell you how we're working on achieving that. So when we look at our goals, the first thing I want to kind of say is that Jamie and I, our PowerPoints are going to look very similar. We work really closely together to make sure that we're aligned, just like the teachers, and then all the kids in CUSD are getting, you know, the same education and the same quality throughout. So they'll look a lot alike. So the LCAP goal for goal 1 is to increase student learning with high quality standards-based instruction that is differentiated for every student. So our SIPSA goal is that 60% of students in kindergarten through 5th grade will score at grade level on the STAR reading and STAR math assessments, and then also to increase our student attendance rate. And then when Jamie comes on, she's going to look a little bit at some of the tests with the STAR math and the state tests and what they look like. So some of the things that we're working, some of our strategies and activities, and some of the things we're trying to do differently to make sure that we are making gains. We're supporting our English learners through designated ELD time. So that is every day for 30 minutes, and then SLD time, so the DLI students are getting structured language in Spanish. We've also been working really closely with the county. Last year, we started training our grade level chairs for PLCs, the professional learning communities. And so we are continuing that work this year. And I feel like this is kind of the big piece that we really need to be working together to figure out best practices and how we can support our students. So this is the big kind of piece that we've changed and what we're doing differently. We also have our Wednesday collaboration time where teachers are meeting, collaborating in their PLC teams. So once a month they're meeting with grade levels across the district, and then the other times they're meeting with their teams at the sites. And then as principals, we've really made sure that that time is there for them. We've moved so that meetings and IEPs are on different days to make sure that teachers have that PLC time. We also have our reading intervention teacher, and we look at our DIBELS scores, and those students that need the most support are getting reading intervention. And then we also have several different programs on the computer, Dreambox, Freckle, Lalilo, Mayon, and Lexia. And these are helping teachers kind of bridge that gap, those kind of knowledge gaps that the students kind of miss throughout the years. We, as we looked at our math scores, we decided we really needed to focus on math this year. And we have an amazing teacher, Christy Guerrero, who is at Catalino and has a lot of experience. She worked at the county. She does the math project at UCSB. And so she is supporting our teachers. She's coming to staff meetings and PLC meetings to help us with the math and doing professional development. Jamie and I are both working on looking at our Bridges. So Bridges is our math program. So we're looking at those unit tests to figure out how we can best support our teachers, and then collaborating around that data to figure out how we can increase student achievement. This year, we're also working with the United Way. Teachers are going to be trained with the Orton-Gillingham reading method, and then those teachers will also be tutoring students throughout the rest of the year after they're trained. So those teachers are getting the training starting right now for the next month, and then they will start tutoring after winter break. Besides those teachers, other teachers will also be tutoring after school for our students that are at most risk. And then we have our expanded learning program, our after-school program that provides academic support and enrichment and is open to all ELISO students. So looking at trying to increase student attendance rates. Some of the things that we've been working on and doing differently this year is sending out information to parents about the correlation between attendance and academics performance. So we're doing that district-wide, sending those out on parent squares and meetings, ELAC meetings, PFA meetings, to really have the parents understand the importance of the kids being at school. At our site, we're sending out a Google form 3 times a year to get feedback on what families need support with and how we can help them. We have our school counselor, and we also have a social worker that we're providing support for families. So those students that are chronically absent, we are hooking the families up with a social worker to make sure that they're getting the support they need. We also send out monthly attendance letters to families. And then the big piece I feel at Aliso that kind of is making the difference is we're doing our student success team, our SST teams, and we're meeting with parents to address academic and attendance concerns. So that's a team of educators. So we have our, I'm at those, usually the district psychologist will come, our school counselor, the social worker, sometimes some part of our SPED team, and finding ways that we can support our families and help them. So I kind of wanted to give you a little example. We had a student who's been struggling with absenteeism. And so in the 21-22 school year, this student was absent 70 days, and had 100 tardies, and then was truant 125 days. So truant is those students that have unexcused absences or are tardy more than 30 minutes. So it was huge. So I started working with the parent at the end of that year, meeting with them, trying to come up with a plan. And so the next year we started the SST process with the student. And we met 4 times throughout the year with this parent and the student success team. And so the absences went down to 25, tardies went down to 98, and truant to 59. So it was a huge jump in the tardies and absences. And so this year, even though we're not finished with the school year, the student has only had 2 absences and has only been tardy 8 times. So I think that having those relationships and having a team to be able to support our parents is kind of the key to helping with chronic absenteeism. So we got some pictures of our students doing math. Some of these are in our GATE class, doing collaboration with each other. It's amazing to watch students and have them show their work and explain their reasoning. Here are a few of our DLI students with their writing. The last 2 years, we were working with the literacy partners and got trained in writing with Lucy Culkin's writing, and the kids are doing amazing writing. So they're writing every day in every classroom, and it's making a huge difference, and you can see that the students love writing. Here's a picture of our kindergarten DLI class, Ms. Lewandowski's class, and along with our new mural and our new school-wide logo. All right, goal 2. The LCAP goal is that all students actively engage in learning and participate in a positive school culture with partnerships with parents. So our SIPSA goal for Aliso is that we increase parent participation through our Parents for Aliso, with our ELAC, our English Learning Advisory Committee, and other school-wide events, and then to increase student leadership and student voice opportunities through our student council. So you guys got to see a couple weeks ago kind of what our student council was doing. So a couple of the things that our student council members are doing is they're doing a weekly newscast. We're doing peer mediation, school-wide assemblies, Spirit Week, and fundraisers. Our classrooms are participating in Little Big Buddies, where the younger students are paired with older students to build relationships. They read with them, they help them with their math. Sometimes they do fun activities during the holidays. And then celebrate holidays and traditions of cultures that are represented on our campus, including Dia de los Muertos and Hispanic Heritage Month. And then we invite our families to join our assemblies. we're working really hard and to collaborate with our parent group and our ELAC parents to support home to school literacy. With our parent involvement, we're doing family literacy nights. Our parent group has done our trunk or treat, and then we do a monthly family picnic day, which has been pretty amazing. Every month we get more and more parents, and it's just great to see the parents not only out there with their students, but also collaborating with other parents and supporting them that way and helping each other out. So our family literacy nights kind of build that relationship too between the bond between students and school and parents. And then the principals this year are hosting coffee with the principals throughout the year to kind of go over things that we're doing, answer questions, and support them in any way we can. And then the parents attend conferences 2 times a year. And this year we had amazing turnout. I think we only had maybe 3 or 4 total parents that didn't come to family parent conferences, which is pretty amazing. I think that's one thing that COVID did help with. We have Zoom now too, so we have a lot of parents who, struggle to be able to leave work, so now they can Zoom on their break or when they need to make sure that they have that connection with the teacher. So this is just a quick picture of our weekly newscast. It's been my favorite part of the year and my favorite part of the week. So on Mondays, the student council members join me and we do a newscast. And it's been a great way to bring our school together and our community together. We share expectations, we share rules and regulations and things on the playground. And the great thing about this is that it goes into every classroom and everybody gets the same message. So the teachers, the staff, the students all get the same message. Here's our trunk or treat, and then we're also working with the Wilderness Youth Project this year to kind of bring in families. So on Tuesdays, they pick up the kids and they take them hiking to the beach, different activities, and then we're trying to do family days. So the one on the right, we had done a family beach walk. So it was on a Saturday, and we invited families to come, and we went through the salt marsh and then walked down to the beach. So we're trying to do more weekend activities where we can get parents involved. We didn't have a huge turnout because I think it's difficult for parents, so we're going to try some after school also. But it was a great way to see the parents interacting and working with their students. And then our family picnic night, one of our ELAC meetings, and then a family literacy night. And we've got our Aliso Lion mascot. The students kind of highlight for the year is always the book fair. They love buying books, getting new books. And then the board above that is all of the staff members with their favorite books to share with the students. So I feel like a big important thing is just building relationships. And so I've been working really closely with our parent group. This is Ashley, and she is the treasurer of our parent group. And so we've been working really closely with Ashley. And so the next picture is also Ashley and me. So I had Ashley in 4th grade. So it's amazing to kind of see that turn around and be able to. I have a picture now with her daughter at Halloween too. So it's
Are you feeling old yet?
Yeah. So I didn't know if I wanted to share my picture, but it's just been for me really special being able to share that bond with families and have those families over and year after year. All right, goal 3. The LCAP goal is that all students will graduate from high school, college, and career ready. So Aliso School will cultivate a college-going culture on campus and monitor student progress looking at our STAR assessment data. So one of the things that we're doing is the students are getting exposure to different colleges and universities. Some of them, they're visiting them, some of them online. Our 4th and 5th grade students are visiting different colleges and campuses. Our parent group is going to be facilitating a college and career day towards the end of the year, and then looking at multiple measures of progress to make sure that individuals are meeting their goals. So this is the 5th grade UCSB field trip, which is just pretty amazing. The fact that the kids get to go to the college and then see amazing things. So I talked about 5 kids when they came back, and I asked them on a scale of 1 to 10, how was it? And most of them were at like 11 or 12. So they just loved being on campus, seeing the kids, you know, riding their bikes, and then being able to be part of the amazing chemistry. Some more pictures. Goal 4, the facilities are safe, updated, and well-maintained for students and staff. So we work really hard on maintaining our campus, and a lot of that, we have hired a new custodian this year, so that helps. But we also have our student council taking pride in their campus and making sure that it's clean, and just having the school pride of the students taking care of our school. We also have Measure U coming up, where we will be finishing up with our TK classroom modernization. So that's going to be pretty amazing. The pictures look absolutely breathtaking, so it'll be exciting. So this is a picture of our mural that was installed this year, which has been a great community builder. And it's got, you know, a lot of history with CARP, and being able to share that with the students has been great. So the SIPSA goal is that we use essential elements of cultural proficiency to guide our school decisions. Aliso staff and students and families will use the 5 elements of cultural proficiency to serve as standards by which we develop our school practices and policies. So when we conduct our district PLC meetings, we're looking at them through a lens of equality. Aliso staff and students practice and celebrate cultural diversity. We plan parent engagement activities with a lens of cultural proficiency and practices, and then making sure that we're providing rich literature in both Spanish and English. And we've been working hard at Aliso building our Spanish library, so that those students have those books in Spanish for our DLI classes. We provide translation for all school communication in English and Spanish. We also have Parent Square, which has been amazing because that helps with translation. Meeting with our ELAC parents to help them better understand how they can support their students and how to look at the data so that they can understand it and help. And then the principals and the special ed director and the gate teacher, we're still working on refining the gate process to make sure that we have equity there. So we've got some pictures of our Day of the Dead altars and our music lessons. And this year we did bike safety. The kids loved it. So we are also working with Move Santa Barbara this year. And this is another way that I'm hoping that we can get more kids to school. We're trying to find either bike or walk paths and find adults who can kind of facilitate those ways to school so that kids can kind of join the train to school. Because a lot of parents in the morning are struggling to get themselves to work, let alone their kids to school. So hopefully this will be a positive thing. We're working with them to get bicycles for students for cheap. We had usually 1 or 2 bikes in front of the school before we did the training, and now we have about 10 to 15. So it's helping, and Move Santa Barbara's been a good part of that. So that's our presentation for Aliso. Thanks.
Thank you so much. Any questions?
I have a couple. We've been seeing a lot of the decline in enrollment.
Yeah.
It's not just carpentry. It's throughout the state. But I'm just curious if you've kind of been able to figure out what the drop has been attributable to at Aliso.
So the drop in
enrollment, yeah. Or if you get a sense of it.
I think it's hard to live in Carpinteria. And, I don't think people can afford to have, I can barely afford my cats. So, and taking care of them. And, people are struggling. It's hard.
Yeah.
Because I feel like the CARP schools are amazing. People want to come here. We have people from Ventura all the time wanting to come up here to CARP schools. It doesn't get better than CARP. So.
And then so that kind of goes into the absenteeism and the tardiness. is that, would you say some of that is attributable to students commuting from down in Ventura and Oxnard, or do you think it's more they just can't get out of bed?
I think they can't get out of bed. I think kids are struggling with mental health, and the anxiety that students are coming with in the morning is like off the charts. Once they get to school and they're there, they're fine. But I think a lot of them struggle leaving their parents too, because they know their parents are at home. Their parents are struggling. So it's a combination of, kids just struggling and with that anxiety of getting to school, getting back. I've noticed, like with our after-school program, kids are struggling to go, and we've never had that problem before. And I think part of it is that it's such a long day for those students. They're not used to being able to be in school that long, to be on task. Just being in the classrooms and watching them trying to stay engaged and have that academic endurance is really tough. So it's a stressful day for them.
And you think that, I mean, I'm assuming that's due to COVID, due to the fact that a lot of them are kind of addicted to their screens when they get home, and
That's a huge
thing. And then it's hard to pull away from that. I mean, I've seen that with a lot of, I mean, even some kids in our greater family. It's, you see that they feel dependent, and they get anxiety when they're away from their phone or they're away from their.
Almost every family that I talk to brings up that.
Yeah.
That it's difficult, and then they have a hard time getting them off of it. And then, it's easier to be like, just stay on the screen time, and that's what they were used to for years. So I think it's a huge thing.
All right. And then, so with with your student success team, and you're working with the parents and the student, and are you? So it sounds like like parents are maybe projecting or at least transferring a lot of their problems, their financial issues, their personal problems onto their children, and then that children develop the anxiety. Is that part of this? One of the things you're addressing in the SST is how the parents should try to avoid doing that, or is that?
Yeah, I mean, it depends, case to case basis, but a lot of parents, I think, talking to parents, is that a lot of kids heard a lot of things during COVID, being home with parents being at home working, stressed, and so most of the parents come in, and when we have the SST meetings, they're like, I need support too. They need to, the support, like how they can help their student, how, what they can do. So we make a lot of referrals to CCP for parents.
All right. Well, thank you.
Yeah.
I had a question on sorry, did anybody else have any other questions? Okay. On the weekend activities, it's with Wilderness, it's with WIP. Do you have any ELISO teacher participation?
So this last one, we had a couple, our school counselor and I went, but again, it's tough. It's tough for teachers too. Because
and that's not I'm just curious.
So we have a couple. Yeah.
Okay. And then, let's see here. Andy talked on enrollment. Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Ms. Pursoon.
Great job. Thank you, Brett.
Hi. So you will see something very similar to ELISO School, because Brett and I do work pretty closely together. So I think you know who I am. I'm Jamie Pursoon. I've been the principal of Catalino. This is my 11th year, and in my 25th year in CUSD as an employee. And I also started here at 5 years old in room 12 with Mrs. Conway. So I've been here a bit. So I wanted to start out, Brett and I kind of were tag teaming on things. So I wanted you and the public to understand, how do we assess our students' progress? And then following that question, how do we differentiate instruction, reteach, and reassess? And so that what that really means is when you have a differentiated instruction, say, for example, they just gave a unit test in bridges, the teacher would analyze which groups need more instruction on a certain standard that they missed on the test. And then they would do a small group, and this is what we're seeing, as they're doing reteaching groups, and then they do another short assessment to make sure that the student has mastered that skill. So there's multiple types of sources to collect data on student achievement, and we do three main things. And the first one is the CASP, and that obviously only in the elementary school goes to 3rd, 4th, and 5th. And that's what they call lag data. So the test is in the May-ish, about April and May. And then the next teacher gets the students' scores. So it's not the same teacher that is following this because they've already had that student. So that's what they call it, a lag data. And that informs us at like a 30,000 feet level. So it's a very high level, just kind of looking at trends by subgroups, by grades, by teachers. So it's a very high level look at how our students are doing. And then we have STAR reading and STAR math results, and that's called progress monitoring data because we do it every month, the English language arts and Spanish language arts and math. And the teachers can take immediate action on these things. If someone's just dropping in their reading level, then we can immediately intervene and do some more assessment with the teacher to see what's going on. And this is what we call lead data because it's leading us to the next part to help them grow. And then the last one is curriculum-based assessment, and that's the most granular, and teachers can pinpoint where the student needs support or acceleration. And I'm going to go back to the bridges assessments. So the teachers can really drill down on what the standards are on each of those questions. And then Brett and I actually do collect all the bridges assessments. So I go through 547 bridges assessments every time they do an assessment, because we are really taking a really deep dive into where the students are having a difficult time, and I have them sorted by those who have exceeded, are met, are approaching, and I think then it's strategic and then intensive. So we know, and we ask our teachers questions. What are you going to do with this student? What is this student missing? What's the plan on that? What support do you need? So this is also lead data, and it's immediately actionable. So again, the CASP is not really actionable for the teacher because it's not the same teacher. And the lag data, it's about 6 months it takes us to get the scores. So I wanted to give you an example. So this is a 5th grade math task. It's part of the first, this is one question. And I'm not going to really belay this point because you do have it in front of you. But there's part 1, part 2, and this is, of course, mixed numbers. Part 3, part 4, this is one question, and part 5. So that I just wanted you to get a vision of why CASP data looks very different from STAR data, which looks very different than a Bridges curriculum test assessment. These CASP things are embedded with a lot of questions within the question, and so it's an executive functioning thing that also comes into play. So it's something that for the public to understand what the questions might look like. So I'm using questions in these for all at the 5th grade level because we're really focused, Brett and I, on the math scores of 5th graders. Here's an example of a 5th grade STAR math question, which is, somewhat challenging depending upon your calculation skills as a 5th grader, but you can see the format of the question is entirely different than a CASP question. So it's not really something we can compare or contrast between a Bridges assessment and a STAR assessment and the CASP assessment. Those are different things. So this is what Brett and I really look at the most, which is the Bridges assessment. It's curriculum-based. It's what the teachers are working on in the PLCs. They're talking about their lessons. They're talking about their instruction and how we're going to increase achievement for certain students, and then also make sure that we accelerate students and enrich students who are already mastering the standard. So this is an example of questions that we see in the Bridges, and this is where we really put our eggs in this basket because we are making sure that they are getting those standards. Now, CASP is not it is not done exactly like that. Those are different kinds of questions. So I just wanted you and the public to understand the difference between the three types of data. So this is a Bridges, I've taken out the names and the sides. So this is a Bridges test, and each one of the top is a questions and how many questions for that standard. And so when you see a red line, they didn't get any of those questions right in that standard. And then yellow is they missed one or two, and then the green is where they got it all right. So the teacher goes with their PLCs on Wednesdays, and they decide let's look at 4A. There were quite a few people who didn't understand 4A, and so you're going to take that group of students that are red or yellow, and you're going to do a differentiated instruction with those students, and then do a reassessment after that. It's kind of intricate. Mm-hmm. So chronic absenteeism, similar to what Brett was talking about, and enrollment. So everybody is experiencing declining enrollment. In the county, in the state, it's not a Carpinteria issue at all. So we have gone down also with our chronic absenteeism. We were at 27.6, and then last year we were at 22.8. And so we decreased absenteeism of 5%. Right at this year, we are doing a lot better than that too, as well. And again, it's the same kind of things that Brett was discussing, utilizing our social worker and our counselors and the teachers, and having meetings with parents quite frequently. So we have decreased by 15 students, and much of that is in TK and K. So we have small classes, more than we expected in TK and K. I do want to say that a lot of private school students have been coming into our public schools. I think I have 6 from Howard this year and 3 or 4 from Mount Carmel. So it has nothing to do with private schools either. It has to do with, from my perspective, and I think all of us would agree, is cost of living. And the ability to live in Carpinteria and go to Carpinteria schools. Family school is in the same boat, so they are decreasing by 9 students, and again, their kindergarten has a low enrollment as well. That's what we're seeing kind of across the board. So this is just a chart of the ethnicity and the percentage of the population. And then you've already seen these numbers when Diana presented all the data. And you can see that one of our areas that we're really concerned about is math in 5th grade specifically. The difference between Catalino and Carpinteria Family School is very apparent. So at Catalino, we have 8 students in TK, 18 in kindergarten, 19 in 1st grade, and so on. It's interesting that this 3rd grade group has a number of English learners, and that's interestingly the year they were in kindergarten was the COVID. So that's an interesting number for me. And last year we did move 16 students to being reclassified. And so we are also doing well in our reclassification. So same goal that Brett and I have is that 60% of students at K-5 are at and above star reading and star math, and that we are currently meeting that number. We're above 60% on both of those tests for right at this moment. We are using professional learning communities, which I just discussed with the test questions. We are also using the fabulous Christy Guerrero Monthly, and Christy is not only a teacher in Carpenter Unified School District providing us with professional development, she also runs the UCSB Math Project in the summer times, and she's also a fellow of the state of California for TK2 and their standards and frameworks. So she goes up to the Sacramento, is very influential in the state. So we're very, very lucky that she works here. We also do English learners and differentiated instruction in ELD, SLD. So Catalino's pretty big. So we have 3 slots a day, 8:30 to 9 for second and third grade, 10:15 to 10:45 for K1, and then 11 to 11:30 for 4 and 5. And we push in our instructional assistants so that we have small groups with differentiated instruction, and they are flexible. So if students are making progress, they move to a different group, or if they need more support, they move to a different group. We really focus on our Title I students. And as Brett said, the collaboration with the United Way for Orton Gillingham reading method, they'll be doing 2 days a week starting in January until May with 4 students at a time. So one teacher will be doing 4 students for the whole 5 months with the training that they're getting. It's a 30-hour training, and they are doing the training on Zoom during different times that they have chosen. And this is under... this will be part of the after-school program, this tutoring with the ELOP. So we have TK, and as you know, we're just going to be putting in I think the last year of the months that are available for being in TK. So we really actually love having TK. I know it's another year of school, but it is helping us understand what those students need. And they have like a little kickstart to be coming into kindergarten. So we really appreciate that. We are really, really focusing on math at both Aliso and Catalino and Carpinteria Family School. This is a first grade class, and what you can notice in the back is there's an adult supporting one kid, and the other students are independent in their task at that time. So the teacher or any other adult that is there teaching, we make sure that they are always working with students, 1 or 2 or 3 at a time, or the whole group. These are what are called math non-curricular tasks, and Christy has been doing it with Catalino, and I know she's done this with the middle school, and she's done it with Aliso and Family School, and it's about helping students develop their number sense in teams and their ability to communicate with each other as they are going through those tasks. And it's actually really great. A lot of them are very engaging tasks, and it's sort of like puzzles a little bit. And it's much more engaging to them than turn your page to number 156 on your book. Like it's much more engaging and interactive. So we're using a lot of these stand-up whiteboards so students can express their thinking and solve problems. Those things, the thing on the bottom, the rectangles with the purple and the green, those are models of thousands and hundreds and then tens and ones. And the students who maybe need additional support are using those manipulatives to try to see and understand the concept behind those large numbers. There's a lot of cooperative group working. This is a 4th grade class, and they were doing a task together, and they're all contributing their ideas and solving the problem. And we had family math night in October. It was as you can see, this is just one of the classrooms, and there was about 12 classrooms that were open. There was a lot of people that attended that, and it was really fun. Every classroom had a different theme. And the parents and the kids were all excited, and the student council served pizza beforehand, and there were some guesstimating things, and it was very fun. I think Mrs. Diamond has been there before because she was at Catalino, and still is at Catalino. just more pictures of the family math night. A lot of engagement from Spanish-speaking families, English-speaking families, and families who are bilingual in both. And I was really excited because probably 2/3 of my staff were willing to do a family math night after working a full day. Lots and lots of people were there. So this is FOSS science instruction. So all K through 5 uses FOSS science, and we provide the consumables. Like for example, they're doing atom models right there, and so we have to go to Smart and Final or something like that to get all of their things, and we make sure that the students are really integrating this with language arts and math at the same time. UCSB chemistry lab. Again, Brett already talked about this. I used to take my 5th graders there when I was a 5th grade teacher, and they do go to the USEN and they see like the whole college culture, and then they go to the library and they can go up to the 8th floor if they're quiet. So they get very excited about it. And a UCSB chemistry lab is an example of a field trip that you would put on the consent agenda. The science and math integration. So we're trying to utilize the science FOSS to integrate with the math because it is engaging and it's relevant to what they're doing. We're also talking a lot at both of our sites about engaging instruction. So an example I just gave you was the non-curricular tasks rather than turn to page 126 and try to do something that is engaging and important to the students. So these are just some of the examples of morning work that are the kids are really excited about responding to that and writing because it's something they're interested in. So we are really lucky. At Canalino Annaliso and Carpinteria Family School, we are doing science in the garden for 1st and 2nd grades. And they're doing, they take notes and they measure things and they integrate math, language arts, science, and all of that area. And that's the garden, one of the garden teachers, and we contract through Explore Ecology for this. And then the teacher also joins the lesson as well so that she or he can integrate what they're learning into the classroom as well. So you can see in the first picture, our teachers are a bit stumped by what Christy is asking us to do, but they did figure it out. And they did it in teams, just modeling for what we want them to do in the classrooms. And there's Christy explaining it to some of the teachers. We really are focusing on differentiated instruction, and that means that some students need help on one specific task or one specific standard. And so this is Miss Brown, a 5th grade teacher, who's pulling students over who actually were out of the classroom on this end. They were out of the classroom and they came back in and she's reteaching them. So doing differentiated instruction, even in 5th grade, is definitely something we want to see. This is also a differentiated instruction. This was just after Unit 1 of the Bridges assessment, and these students needed additional support with that particular set of questions, and so she did some extra instruction, and then they did another assessment afterwards. So we're doing a lot with English ELD and SLD. And I really loved this lesson on the left side of me, the closest to you. And so they were reading books about arthropods and cetaceans and insects and a lot of pretty sophisticated words, and they were going over the Greek and Latin roots of the words, and then the students read a packet or a book, a little story about each one of them, and then they chose what they wanted to put in their presentation, and they put their key ideas on that, and then these are 3rd graders, and then they presented it orally. So it integrated the reading, writing, listening, and speaking as a lesson. So those are our reclassified students. We had a celebration and had a cake. They had medals and certificates, and their parents came, and they were all very excited about the cake, mostly. We have GATE and ELD for 3rd, 4th, and 5th graders. So the ELD is for the 5th graders that are close to being reclassified. And so they are working with Ms. Marshall. And these are some of the fun things they're doing. Looks like they're pretty happy. We're really fortunate that we work with the Children's Creative Project. And so this semester we're in, we've had Dance with Brittany from Carpinteria Children's no, that's another CCP. Children's Creative Project. Both Brett and I have really robust after-school programs. Right now at Catalino, it's 188 students that are enrolled. And we have TK to K has to be a 10-to-1 ratio of adults to students, and then 20-to-1 for first grade through fifth grade. So we have a number of staff members in that place, and we actually use the whole campus. And Crystal and Melissa are both running really great programs, bringing in a lot of different things. This was so fun. This was the week before we left for Thanksgiving, and they brought in a drumming performance, but it was also teaching the kids. And they brought the buckets, and you can just see how happy their faces are. And it was just really fun. They did it by groups. They differentiate the groups, so the smaller kids are in one area, and there's probably 6 different groups throughout the day, and they rotate. And there's so many kids that want to be in the after-school program. My nephew's in the after-school program, and his mom can come pick him up, but he's insisting on being in the program. And then he said, please don't come and get me until 5:45. So it must be pretty fun. They play a lot of soccer, too, so that might be the thing. So this is what we call integrated tasks. So whenever you can weave in a number of standards and a number of strands. So this was, Brett was talking about Move Santa Barbara. And this was the day we were doing our collection of data about how many came in a car, how many came in they're asking from Move Santa Barbara. So Mrs. Edmondson, who's a veteran teacher and the kindergarten chair, she made that tally into a lesson. And so the students had to write their name on a Post-it note, which was probably the first time they had ever done that in kindergarten. And then they had to decide where should they put their Post-it note as to how they got there. And then they had to make a verbal sentence to their peers, like, I came in a car, I rode my bike with my mom. And so they had to do all of that. It was like a language lesson, tally for math, and it was really a great way to bring everything together, which is really efficient as a teacher, and it also is exciting to kids. Just writing their name on a Post-it note, I was in there the whole time, and it was really funny. So we have a lot of student engagement and leadership, just like Aliso does. We have a student council at Catalino. It's Catalino and Carpinteria Family School. They run for vice president and president. Fifth graders can go for president, and vice president can go for fourth grade. And then we also have leadership going on in second and third grade. They're doing Club Kind and environmental ambassadors with Mrs. Rugg. Women in History, which is Crystal Marshall, in I think it's in March. We have Big and Little Buddies, just like Aliso, and then of course the after-school program. So this was the day of speeches. The fourth and fifth grade students who wanted to be either the vice president or the president. And on the other side, you can see the signs. We're really about equity. So they could only do a certain size, and they couldn't hand out any candy or pins or anything like that. It had to be an equitable situation. But we had 18 students who wanted to run for vice president or president. So that was pretty exciting. And this is the environmental club. So what they're doing is they're using their compost, the compost that we have as part of our whole food waste program, and they put it in a tumbler, and they have red wiggler worms in there, and then the PFC purchased those garden boxes, and then they are bringing. Right now they're blooming the fava beans, and the students are part of that, and so we're trying to teach them also the whole cycle of food waste and why you could just put it back in and then grow something else. So this was the very first student council meeting. That's Miss Shanna, and she runs that, and she's outstanding, and you have heard from her probably a couple months ago. What we have found that's been really effective is having structured morning recess and lunch recess. So there are always, there's a calendar of the month about what all the activities are going to be for the morning recess and the lunch recess every day. And so students know what they want to do, and sometimes they have to articulate to their teacher. If they sometimes have challenges out there, the teacher might direct them to a specific activity, and then the adult that runs that activity will have some supervision on that student. So you also have the Eli Schaefer tables as well, very highly exciting. We have the pennies out there, and we do structured soccer pretty much every single day at every single recess, but we also have flag football, we have hand baseball, there's a lot of things. And then we have tournaments every month. So every month there's a tournament for a different sport, and those on the people on the right got an athlete award because they were the winners of their game. This is just pictures of the Big and Little Buddies. These are 5th graders and 3rd graders, and this was during Hispanic Heritage Month, and they're using epic books in Spanish to read to each other with their big buddies and their little buddies. I took a picture of that a few weeks ago, and it was Miss Shanna, who was our counselor that you know. If you want to start a club, you have to do an application with Shanna, and she will tell you yes or no that you can. And so they made their own little flyer, and they kind of taped it up all over the house, the campus, and then they put it in Spanish and English, and they put their names at the bottom, and I just thought that was so cute. They've also now gone, they do the chess and then the checkers, and now they're really into card games, so they're doing that out there too.
Right?
Yes, yes. Maybe in the teacher's lounge. So the same things that we are doing they're doing at Elisa, we're doing together. PLCs, we're always looking at a lens of equity. So for example, when you saw the CASP scores and the data about 6 weeks ago, we break it out about those subgroups. And so clearly we are not doing as well as we should be doing with students who have a Hispanic background with low socioeconomic disadvantage. And that's what we look at when we look at our data to see how we're going to help them. Diverse, rich literature and cultural diversity and parent engagement. We have really actually fabulous parent engagement. This weekend we're having the holiday trolley, and the ELAC group is doing their tamale sales for the 12th year in a row. So we're really excited about that. We have noticed with the dual language immersion program, and even outside the dual language immersion program, when we celebrate things like Hispanic Heritage Month or Dia de los Muertos, the parents are very excited to come and be part of it because it is relevant to them and it's things that they know about and can teach. Both Brett and I use the same mariachis, and this was for one of our family picnic lunch. And this, the other assembly was in bilingual in Spanish and English about storytelling from Mexico. And then, of course, with DLI, we're reading and writing, presenting in Spanish language arts for the month of the Herencia Hispana. You can see all the yummy homemade food that came. So that's what we've got.
Thank you so much. Any questions for Ms. Prasoon?
I've got a couple.
Okay.
So going back to the math, and the example of the CASP, the STAR, and then the bridges. So I personally, I think the CASP and the bridges are like practical assessments of, just kind of comprehensive understanding of things. The STAR question you presented could be interpreted very confusingly. And I mean, to me, it doesn't seem. It seems as if it's almost like we're trying to confuse the student, and I really don't understand the purpose of a question like that, because it's really confusing, especially if you're not familiar with that, and then essentially it's an algebraic equation that has no real practical use in 5th or 6th grade, in my opinion. We'd be better off teaching the students economics or accounting or something practical that's going to help them in life. Would you agree?
Yes.
Yeah.
And so the questions are never perfect at all, and it depends on what kind of information you're trying to get. And so again, the STAR is like an overall grade level. What is the grade level that you're?
What are we trying to determine with the STAR
Growth.
test? Growth.
We're trying to see if they're making growth. Would you agree, Brett?
Of the
But
standard.
that is a question of the on
one
the
of the
5th grade
standards.
That's one of
standard.
the standards.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
So-
what is the standard trying to achieve?
Well, the standard is saying, yes, they know how to do this algebraic
Yeah.
equation. That's all that's doing. It's not telling us why they do it or
See,
how
I
they did it.
I mean, and this is a much bigger discussion probably, but I don't see how that prepares them for life, and it prepares them for a job, and prepares them for, maybe it prepares someone who's going to go into, engineering or chemistry or biology or something. But, I think, and I know it's a state requirement, but I think there should be a lot more pushback, because it doesn't really, to me, it doesn't really prepare our students for the future. It's just basically, saying, okay, here, this is a confusing algebraic equation that you need to know how to answer in the 5th grade, but you'll never have to use it in your normal life.
Probably not. And so that's why Brett and I really put most of our eggs in our basket into the Bridges assessments, because not only do they have to do the calculation and demonstrate that they can master the skill or that standard of math, but they also have to do some justification of their thinking. They actually have to write about it and justify their thinking. And so that's why we really think about that as our instructional tool, or basically it's an instructional tool for the teacher and for the principals. The STAR, again, is like high level, and it's looking at, in a month, did this student make 0.2, like 2 months of growth, 1 point of growth. And if you see something that goes down a lot, then you get alarm bells, and the teacher looks at that data and understands what they did or didn't look at, or they didn't get right, and then they have to make sure that they get that kid back on track. But it's not like it's not a deep dive into the question and do they understand the standard. STAR is much higher, like just it's a growth measure. It's not really instructional to us. It's to whether or not the student needs help.
But it sounds like we're doing that already with Bridges. I mean, you're doing that bi-weekly or monthly?
No, there's checkpoints to almost every week or every other week. They're called checkpoints. They're like little mini assessments.
And that's what chart you showed us, right?
That's a unit assessment.
Oh, it's a unit
so the
assessment.
unit assessment is probably about every 6 weeks. It depends on it's between 6 and 8 weeks to do a unit. There's usually, I believe it's 8. There's 8 units in most of the grades. But that we're definitely focusing on math really strongly.
I'm trying to rationalize, because we get the CASP results, and which were, they're disappointing, and then you get the STAR test results, and it seems like there's no real correlation there between the two.
Well, no, I mean clearly, but just looking at the difference of the questions.
Well, yeah, but the questions, but the achievement levels. It's just it just seems like there's got to be a better way, and especially when you look at the 11th graders and what they're. I mean, I honestly I don't think the 11th graders take it very seriously, but.
Right, and then you also have like the STAR math and STAR reading, and the CASP are computer-based assessments, and the Bridges is written down. Like they're interacting with paper and pencil and doing their calculation. So that from my perspective, I'm doing this for 25 years. I think they're more successful in that format. It's not that they don't know how to do the computer, but when you're doing paper and pencil and kind of thinking about it and making drawings, because the teachers teach them that during bridges, like they make their 10 frames and they do, all their stuff. And so I think they're much more successful when they're actually writing it down than clicking. And also clicking is not going to help you very much, because we usually see that, people who are either frustrated, tired, had a bad day, they're just, clicking, and that doesn't really help either. So I really prefer those paper ones, but the state's certainly not going to have, grade 100, thousands and thousands of kids.
I think all of those tests give us a little bit different information that we can use in different ways.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
they're all helpful in different ways.
And that's really the work of the PLCs on Wednesdays, is those teachers bring all of those pieces together and look at each kid and each class, and then how do we, differentiate that instruction so that they can master those things.
Yeah, I think I'm probably going to ask the secondary teachers this more, but I really think it's important that we start focusing on, or we try to focus more on skills that are going to help our students in life. Understanding how to balance a checkbook, knowing how to read a balance sheet, how to do basic equations and that are going to help them in their everyday life. Because you look at some of these students when they're getting out of high school now, and they can't do that. Mm-hmm. And I think if we start prepping them for that at an earlier age, maybe not fourth or fifth grade, but certainly in middle school, I think it's important that we think about developing these skills that are going to help them in their everyday lives.
One of the books in what's called Ready Gen, which is the 4th and 5th grade ELA curriculum, one of them is called, one of the units is called Understanding Money. And it's about the interest rates and about taxes and about credit cards. And that's a 5th grade text.
How to invest your money.
Yes, so I was really happy to see that. Because it's also, again, integrating with math and something they're interested in. Kids are always interested in money, especially when you're in 5th grade and you want to start buying your own things.
Okay.
Having Christy come, stuff that she's doing in math is a little bit different. The kids are doing problem solving and looking at kind of real life things and how do you work these out and solve these things. So I think that kind of has been a big piece.
And remember, like a curriculum program, such as Bridges or any program that you ever buy, it's never completely perfect, because what they basically have like a canned program, and then every state has slightly different standards, so they have to adjust that program to every state, and so it looks a little bit different from everywhere, and so it's not designed for California, for example. It's altered for California. So really, curriculum is obviously very important, but it's really the implementation from the teacher that is the piece that is the most important. It's always about the quality and the professionalism of the teacher is what's going to make the big difference, not necessarily the curriculum.
Thank you. I just have one question. I have lots for discussion later, but a question. I noticed at Aliso, gate is 2 through 5 in the presentation, it said, but 3 through 5 at Canalino.
It's 3 through 5.
It is 3. Okay.
Test in 2nd grade.
Right.
Thank you. I just was
He's right. It's 2nd grade that they get tested.
tested in 2nd, but they don't start
Correct.
the program until
Yep.
3rd. Thank you for clarifying. Any further questions? Nope. Okay. Thank you so much, Mrs. O'Shea. Carpinteria Middle School.
Hi, good evening, board members. I'm excited to present our plan for student achievement. Thank you, Monica. So what are we doing differently to improve student achievement? Here are demographics. We have 402 learners. You can see the breakdown: 78% Hispanic, 17% white, 2% Asian, and 76% socioeconomically disadvantaged. We have 36% reclassified students. We just had a celebration in October and recognized almost 40 students that have been reclassified. So our 3-year cohort data, if you'll take a look at the top, that's English Language Arts. If you look at the sixth grade in English Language Arts and in math are our areas of concern. That's where we're focusing on, and I'll speak to that tonight. 7th grade, if you look at ELA and math, it stayed pretty steady. Our celebration here is for the 8th graders. If you look from 2022 to 2023, both in English Language Arts and in math, you saw an increase in student performance. Again, here, same, 6th grade went down some, 7th grade stayed about the same, but 8th grade, we're seeing the increase in English Language Arts and math. Here's some attendance data. The data on the left is our attendance data from last year. And on the right, our goal is about 95% student attendance. And so far this year, we're there. So if you look at the previous years, we were around 93%. Both years, and this year we're at 95, so almost 95%. Looking at the comparison to county and state, a lot of things to celebrate here. If you look, we've already talked about 6th grade, which is our focus, but 7th grade in English Language Arts, both grades scored higher than the county. And then in math, for 7th and 8th grade, both scored, the 7th and 8th grade both scored considerably higher than the county and the state. So that is our huge celebration with the math in 7th and 8th grade. The DF data, we're looking at it this year. We haven't run it officially because we haven't had a grade report other than the progress reports, but it looks like it's going to be similar to last year's. Again, this is last year's